Toad's breath potion chips and a paper doll witch. Oh my. Let's do this tutorial, you all. This is Straight Jacket Crafting by Jen, and I've been asked to show how I make my paper dolls. And this happens to be a witch, but you can do anything. And I have my own printable designs for this project. That is printed on inkjet fabric paper for your inkjet printer, and I get it from Amazon. I print my design for the witch or whatever type character you plan to do on cardstock, and I do a reversible image, or a horizontal flip mirror image is what we call it, because we're going to put them back to back. And here you see me doing what we call fussy cutting. I am using my tiny scissors to fussy cut all the way around so that when they are put back to back, they're going to match up pretty closely. And next I'm going to use a paint stir, a wooden paint stir, as my base for my witch. So she is going to sit on here. And it's pretty sturdy. Titebond Quick and Thick is the glue that I'm using, but really you could use any glue for this part. That's just my preference. And it's a multi-surface glue, and I get it on Amazon for about $8. And I use it for just about every project. I've made fairies like this, also Victorian style, beautiful characters turned into paper dolls. So I'm just applying the glue here, so a generous amount so that it sticks nicely all the way around. And then you're going to put pressure around it. Don't press too hard around the wooden part or you might get a seam that appears. And then you're going to see the white edging all the way around. We're going to fussy cut a little bit more and trim that up. And then I'm going to use paint colors that go with this particular image, and that's how I'm going to make sure that I get all of the details taken care of. So I'll take a tiny paintbrush or a thin tip paintbrush and go around the edges. I like to use burnt umber. It's one of my favorites. And I'm using burnt umber and also the color sage and olive green. She's a green witch, so the olive green was perfect. And I filled in the areas where there was white, where her arms come together. This way she looks very 3D once she's completed. And then I'm going to go around the edge of her hat and the entire edge of her body with either the green or the burnt umber. And this takes a lot of time. I've been asked to do tutorials on this many times, but this is a 2-day project, or if you're gonna do this in one sitting, you're looking at about 3 hours. So in order to make this tutorial more manageable, I did speed it up quite a bit. But if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments and I'll try to get to those questions. I'm almost to the next part. And it's good to turn all the way around and take a look to see if you've missed any of the white spaces. And then I'm just going to gently dry her. Next comes the fun part. Just like playing with paper dolls when I was a kid, dressing the paper doll up was the most fun. So I'm taking tulle, and I always use tulle as the base for my paper doll. And I cut some tulle, fold it in half, and tie it in a knot. The reason I tie it in a knot is it makes it easier to handle when you're hot gluing it down. All of my images for my paper dolls are from the waist up, and I always have their hands above their waist. This makes it much easier when making their dress. So I'm going to take tulle and put it on this side and also on the reverse. And honestly, look how cute. You could stop there. The tulle is adorable. But we're going to get a little more fancy And I'm going to use some vintage Civil War reproduction fabric in the greens and that beautiful brown and burgundy color vintage fabric. And I tear it into strips, and then I place it on top of the tulle because the tulle is what makes it puff out. And I play around with this a little bit, trying to figure out what is the best way or design that I want for my artwork. And then I have some beautiful trim that's going to go on top. I have a lot of different trim. It's just something that I love, and so I purchase it. A lot of my vintage fabric and trim comes from sellers on Whatnot, but also on Facebook from a lot of different sellers on Facebook. So here I used B7000 and a wax pen, and I used some rhinestones. I put this on her hat in places and different places all around. And I also use Stickles. Stickles is like a glitter glue with a fine tip point. It takes 24 hours to dry. So when you use Stickles, you want to use that as your last step. So then you can let it dry. Look at that cute little spell book. I got those at the Dollar General. They came in a pack. This is a different pack, but cute for $3. I think I might have purchased all that they had, but don't tell anybody. Now I'm going to take my Pringles can and cover it in that same fabric that I used in her dress. This helps coordinate everything and brings the project all together in the end. I'm using that Titebond Quick and Thick again on the Pringles can, and this is going to hold my fabric in place. Hot glue, you can use that. It leaves the lumpy bumpies though that I don't like, so I prefer Titebond. And then I just use a little yellow sponge from the Dollar Tree to spread it evenly, and then wrap your fabric around the can. And then you can go back and use some hot glue in places that maybe you missed or you want a little bit more hold. And I'm just going to tuck that top fabric down inside the can, and I'll hot glue that in place as well. Next, I'm going to cut out my design. It's called Toad's Breath, and this is the apothecary can that I'm creating. I'm going to peel off the backing. That is not a sticker. That is just a paper backing that allows you to put it through your inkjet printer. And I do that one sheet at a time and print on it like regular paper. Then I'm going to layer my fabric and use this beautiful green vintage piece. Absolutely love it. And we're going to put the fabric label on top of that. It's looking so cute. Then I'm going to use a few more of the rhinestones in my B7000. And I'm going to show you just a little bit here how to use the wax pen if you've never seen that before. But that pen has a waxy tip, and it allows you to pick up the rhinestones and place them pretty quickly. You can get those at Amazon, but this one came from Kome's Crafting Corner on Facebook. She makes them. And I was saying before that a lot of my fabric also comes from Mel's Crafty Corner, Midwest Angel Boutique, and Pretty Pieces by Michelle. All three of those sell on Facebook, and you can get some really beautiful vintage pieces. I'm loving how this is turning out. Super cute. Notice that I put everything towards the bottom of the can. That's because this beautiful witch is going to go down inside the can. That's where she lives, and her dress is going to take up the top portion. So if you want to be able to see the whole can design, you need to put that towards the bottom for this particular can. Look how cute she is. And that Spells and Potion book, I used some rub and buff and some bling. And this is the back side. I designed the back of her dress in a different way than the front, because just like paper dolls, you want to be able to change their clothing. So you can turn her around and show off the other side. These are my free printable designs. You can find them on my page at Straight Jacket Crafting by Jen on Facebook. I hope you'll join me.